drboyce.com, in case you don't know, is a platform where students submit questions to me, and I answer them every single week. I answer every single question, and I use your name in the question and or in the answer. And what I do then is I send back out the video and let you guys hear my answer to your specific question. So if you're not, some of you are listening from the outside. I'm only answering questions that have been submitted by the students. But if you'd like to join the AskDrBoyce.com, the URL is right there on the screen. So the first question is from Cello Milton asks, if I'm in a position to purchase rental property but don't have enough funds, should I use some of my retirement money for the down payment to secure that property, or wait longer to get the funds and possibly miss out on the investment? Well, Cello, one of the things, first thing I'll say is that there are many, many ways to actually get property with very little money down or almost no money down. So remember that whenever you commit cash to something, you're giving away some of your capital. The most efficient way to use capital might be to learn from an expert that's really good in real estate, that knows their way around and knows how to help you find those deals that require less money down. We have a great real estate program in the Black Business School, run by our real estate dean by the name of Julian Gordon. And I'm going to try to pull his URL up on the screen if you want to go take a look. It's theblackreigroup.com. It stands for Real Estate Investment Group, theblackreigroup.com. It's a really great program. Now, in terms of using your retirement money, I'm not a person who thinks it's crazy to use your retirement money to make an investment. Because if I said that it was crazy, then I would be a hypocrite. Because I've used my retirement money when I was trying to get off the corporate plantation. When I was trying to quit my job, I used some retirement money because that was the best source of capital. Because a bank's not really going to usually loan a Black man money if he doesn't, if he just has a good business idea. So I did that, but really, rather than using your retirement money and taking on those penalties that come with it, you can also borrow against it. That's something I've seen people do. I'm not recommending any of these things. This is not investment advice. It's just, laying out possibilities. So borrowing against the money might be a little bit safer because you don't pay the penalty, and you're using your assets as collateral as opposed to actually using the asset itself. Depleting your capital base is typically very risky, especially when you talk about a retirement account, because you have the 10% penalty for early withdrawal. But a lot of people say, and you got to pay taxes on that money when it comes out. But, I'm not like a lot of people who say you should never, ever, 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 ever use your retirement money, because most of those people aren't Black. They're not dealing with the capital issues that we have to face in our community. And sometimes you got to be creative to make things happen. And so, I did personally pay the penalty when I took money out of my retirement. But the amount of money I made from the new investment far exceeded the amount that I paid in the penalty. Also, the happiness of quitting that job was that would have been worth any amount of money to me, because slavery is not fun, and I felt a little bit like a slave. I wasn't an unpaid slave, but I still felt like a slave. It was kind of terrible. So, by the way, the Black Wealth Bootcamp focuses on that very issue, on steps to reducing your economic dependence on the corporate plantation. So if you want to join us for the next Black Wealth Bootcamp segment, feel free to go take a look at blackwealthbootcamp.com. Okay, so next question that's here is a question from, let's see here. All right, this question is from Cello. Also, when investing in ETFs or fractional shares, does adding additional money give you more shares, or is it just putting more money in your portfolio? Well, fractional shares means that you can buy pieces of the stock. You don't actually have to buy the whole stock. So, for example, even if you're talking about, like, for example, if you want to invest in Tesla, you don't have to buy a whole share of Tesla, which I think is $600 and something dollars. You can buy like $60 worth of Tesla, right? So, so buying more fractional shares, it's like, think of it like a pie, right? Like, you can go to the grocery store and buy an entire pie, or you can buy a slice of the pie. So if you put more money in, maybe you get a bigger slice, but you may not still have the whole pie, but you've got more of the pie, right? So that means, like, if I invest $1,000 in Tesla and Tesla goes up 10%, then my investment goes up 10%, right? That means, instead of $1,000, I now have $1,100 because the value of Tesla went up, but I don't get the same effect as if I owned an entire share. So keep that in mind. Next question is from Ronnie Krumer. Ronnie says, hey, Doc, can you explain why you purchased such a diverse crypto portfolio? Why not just focus on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and Dogecoin, which appear to be the leading cryptos? He says he's concerned about some of the smaller cryptos. Yeah, well, I think that's a good point. That's quite valid. I chose to diversify just because I believe in diversification just as a general investment strategy. I don't put all my eggs in one basket. So I'm not going to sit here and say that crypto is the be all end all, or that Bitcoin is the be all end all. I've got plenty in Bitcoin, but I think just spreading your money out is a safe strategy, because if you put all your eggs in one basket, if that basket breaks, then you're in big trouble. So maybe time will prove me wrong, but that doesn't mean that the decision was wrong, because when you diversify, you're not predicting the future. What you're doing is you are preparing yourself for an uncertain future, right? When you it's like if you have a football team and you're playing defense. Playing defense is very different from playing offense. Offense means that you don't diversify. You're basically focused on one thing, right? So you think about a good football team, the Kansas City Chiefs. When Patrick Mahomes is throwing a pass to the wide receiver, Sammy Watkins, or to the other guy that's really fast, I forgot his name, Tariq Hill. He's not thinking about the running back giving the ball to the running back, or possibly giving it to or one of the other receivers. Once he decides he's going to throw the ball to Tariq Hill, he's focused on that one thing. Right? There's no diversification there because you're playing offense. But when you're playing defense, you have to think about all the possibilities. You have to be prepared. You have to say, okay, I don't know what Patrick Mahomes is going to do. He may throw the ball to Tariq Hill. He may throw the ball to Sammy Watkins. He may hand the ball off to the running back. He may throw the ball in the slant route to Patrick Kelsey. He may throw it to, he may throw a screen pass to the running back, right? So we have to prepare for all those possibilities. So just because he chose to throw the ball to Tariq Hill, that doesn't mean that we should have played defense by only focusing on Tariq Hill, because we were playing based on what we knew at that time, right? You were playing, now if you knew that he was going to throw it to Tariq Hill, which means you were cheating or something, then yeah, of course, you only focus on Tariq. You put all 11 players, you say all 11 players guard Tariq Hill, right? But if you don't know what the offense is going to do, then you have to be broad in your thinking in a defensive strategy. Well, how does that matter with investing? Well, it's easy in hindsight to look back and say, oh man, Tesla did really well. I should have put all my money in Tesla, right? But did you know a year ago that Tesla was going to go up 700%? No, you didn't. You didn't know Tesla was going to be the one company to go up 700%. It could have been another company, right? So what smart money managers do is they spread their money out, because they're like, well, we don't know if it's going to be Tesla, or it's going to be NIO, or it's going to be something else. So or even Ford or something, right? So we're going to spread our money out in a diversified portfolio so that we are prepared for all the possibilities. All the possibilities that a stock might crash, all the possibilities that a stock might skyrocket. So when I invest in crypto, that's what I'm doing. I'm preparing for the possibility that Bitcoin is just going to be the biggest thing in the world and make a killing. I want to be there for that. I'm also preparing for the fact that Bitcoin could crash and burn and die, and I want to be prepared for that. Right? You spread out and you play good economic defense. People don't talk about that enough. Everybody's talking about how great crypto is and how well it's doing and going up and all that. Well, you got to play defense too, because that sucker can also crash. You must always prepare for the crashes. Like I always quote the New Edition song, because I think it's so cool. One of the New Edition members is actually in the Black Business School, and he was making fun of me because I always quote New Edition songs. And two songs I always quote. One was I always mention never trust a big button to smile, but that's when I'm giving guys relationship advice. But I also say, can you stand the rain? I ask, look, sunny days, everybody loves them. Everybody loves it when the stock market's making money. Everybody loves it when crypto's making money. Everybody wants to be an investor when times are good. But the question is, can you stand the rain? Tell me, baby, can you stand the rain? Because if you can't stand the rain, then you don't need to be in this game. If you can't get a little bit wet, then you need to sit your butt on the sidelines. Seriously. You get people that get all excited and they're like, oh, this is easy money. I'm going to go borrow my credit card so I can buy some more Bitcoin. And then when it crashes, they want to cry and whine and complain. Well, no, that's how the game works. Just like playing football. Sometimes you're going to get hit. Sometimes you're going to get injured. Sometimes you're going to lose. Sometimes you're not going to win a championship, and it's not even your fault. Things are going to go wrong. And if you can't handle that, then get out of the game. Go do something else. Go sit and be broke. Being broke is very safe. Just be broke. Okay, so anyway, next. Let me see. Next question comes from, let's see here, Ronnie Cromer. I'm sorry, Ronnie Cromer. And by the way, these are questions I'm answering from the students who are enrolled in Ask Dr. Boyce. If you want to go take a look at that, you can go to AskDrBoyce.com. That's where I answer all the students' questions every week. This is the list that I have in front of me, and this is what I'm answering. So some of you are listening from outside, but if you want to go take a look, feel free to go there. And also, you get free access to Ask Dr. Boyce if you're in the Black Stock Market program, which is a really great curriculum with literally hundreds of hours of awesome content. And the URL is theblackstockmarketprogram.com. So feel free to go take a look. The first month is free. All right. So next question is, hey, Doc, now that Bitcoin is increasing, have you thought about how you would use, spend, or trade, sell your Bitcoin? If Bitcoin rises to 50K by July and you bought it at 6K, would you sell it, take a little profit, or just continue to hold until it hits 4 to 500K, as some analysts claim? That is a good question. And I'm going to just tell you the truth. The only person who knows the answer to that question, there's two people I know, two financial experts that I know who would know the answer to that question. You ready? You want to know who they are? It's Jesus and God. Black Jesus and God, not white Jesus or baby Jesus, because baby's too young and white Jesus is not the real Jesus. Black Jesus and God are the only two people who know if Bitcoin is going to rise to 400 or 500K. Now, there are a lot of people who speculate that Bitcoin could rise to the ceiling, but they don't know what's really going to happen. They're only making predictions and assessments. So Black Jesus and God, they know what's going to happen with Bitcoin. You don't know. So here's the dilemma you run into, right? You make an investment at $6,000 back when Bitcoin was worth 6K about less than a year ago. Now it's risen to over 30K, which is pretty awesome. At the time of this recording, Bitcoin is doing extremely well. And you are stuck in that dilemma. You ask yourself, okay, is the price of Bitcoin high, or is the price of Bitcoin low? Well, that's a philosophical question that no finance scholar in the history of this earth has ever been able to answer. Again, only Black Jesus and God know the answer to that question, because nobody knows. There was a time when Amazon was trading at $200 a share. $200 a share. Now, mind you, Amazon's over $3,000 a share now. But there was a time when Amazon was $200 a share. And people said, whoa, buddy, woo, oh, Lord. The nosebleed section, the air is thin up here with Amazon. Can Amazon maintain this incredibly high, unbelievably high valuation? Now, mind you, Amazon was at $200 a share. In hindsight, because now you've got the vision of Black Jesus, you can look back in time and you can say, oh, my God, $200 a share for Amazon. That's so cheap. Why wouldn't you buy and hold at $200 a share? Well, you can only operate based on the information you have. In finance, we call that ex ante versus ex post. Ex ante information means I did the best I could with what I knew at the time. Ex post is after the fact. Ex post is like, Monday morning quarterbacking. Well, if I had been the coach, I would have done this, I would have done that. Well, you didn't know that, right? So basically, you operate based on what you know. So if Bitcoin goes 50K and I put it in at 6K, there are a couple things you could consider doing, right? One is I have seen people, actually, I don't know if you know this, but on Coinbase, you can borrow against your Bitcoin without selling it. They actually offer loans where your Bitcoin becomes your collateral. And so for people that have temporary cash flow needs, I've seen people do that. So they can get a little bit of, get a little couple coins out, get some money out, go on that vacation, buy them a new car, whatever. But one of the things I want to say is that you should be very thoughtful and very careful before you let go of your capital base. Your capital base is what sustains you economically, and that's incredibly important. So I'm not a big fan of selling assets. I'm just not. I'm a fan of holding assets. But the reality of life is that sometimes we get bills to pay, things happen. Right. So what I do actually with my assets is I have two types of portfolios. I have my hold-on portfolio, hold on for dear life, stuff that I just buy and I just hold it, and it's just sitting there like a farmer who owns a plot of land that he plans to keep in his family for 3 generations. He ain't never gonna sell that land because that's the family land. Then I have my other portfolio that is an income generator portfolio. That's the one that lets me live, a life that is a reflection of the hard work that I put in order to accumulate some assets. I grew up poor. I started off with very little money. Me and my mother was 17 years old when she gave birth to me. We lived in the projects together, so I know what it's like to not have enough food or eat a bologna sandwich with no bologna. I know all the poverty stories you name. I've seen that. The roach crawls across the sandwich. You just flick the roach off and keep eating. I don't know if anybody else, tell me yes or no if you've ever gone through that. But anyway, I know it sounds gross, but that's what it is. So when you get a little bit of wealth and you make some good decisions with your life, there is a point where you want to cash in. There's a point where you want to feel good about what you've accomplished and scrape a little bit off the top. So there's various ways to do that. So with my income generating portfolio, what I do is I might do things like sell the options on those stocks so that the options will generate income. I don't necessarily want to buy a lot of options because options are very risky. People buy a lot of options on Robinhood because it's kind of like gambling. It feels like gambling, and they can flip their money really fast if things go well. But I don't buy a lot of options because your money can also flip down. Everything that can flip up can flip down. And I don't want my money to just flip away and disappear. So I kind of, mix it up. So I like to sell options, right? And that generates income, right? That allows you to take some money every month that you can take and use and do other things with, and then you can still have something that's growing, right? Who was it? I think it was W.E.B. Du Bois, perhaps, or no, it wasn't Du Bois. Maybe it was Booker T. Washington. Dr. Claude Anderson talks about this a lot, where he says that if you get ears of corn, he talked about ears of corn. He said if you get a bunch of ears of corn, you might sell one ear of corn, eat one ear of corn, and then plant one ear of corn so that you can actually grow. And then I think he said one more ear, you would save it, right? So I think he said 4 ears of corn. You plant one, you sell one, you eat one, and then you save one, right? So there you go. So that's maybe a good way to think about your investments and when the money when the value goes up. Yeah, there's no right or wrong answer to that question. It's really a matter of thinking it through and also understanding that the more you can invest, the bigger your wealth is going to be. This is a mathematical fact. When they want to measure how much a company is going to grow, they look at what they call the plowback rate. The plowback rate is every time the company gets $1, what percentage of that dollar do they plow back into the company? How many seeds are they planting? That is a direct reflector of how much wealth the company is going to have in the future. So if you ever want to look at a human being, look at them like the way we analyze companies. If you want to know if a person's going to have a good life or be very successful, look at their plowback rate. What are they investing? Ladies, when you're evaluating whether a man is a keeper or not, look at his plowback rate. How much is he investing in himself financially? Is he studying? Is he picking up? Is he more likely to pick up a book than he is to turn on the TV? Is he taking care of his physical health? Is he investing in his health, or is he just eating cheeseburgers at every available opportunity? And with a cheeseburger with a bottle of whiskey on the side, right? That's not healthy, right? But that didn't work well compared to the guy who gets up and runs 5 miles every day and eats salad, right? What is he doing economically? Is he bragging to you about how much money he spent at the Gucci store, or is he telling you about the rental property he's trying to buy once he finishes his master's degree, right? That's a plowback rate. I can just tell you straight up, point blank, period, that people who have high plowback rates are more successful. So when it comes to your investing, your plowback rate, how much you invest, how much you can hold, how much you can delay gratification is a direct reflector of how wealthy you're going to be. Now, by the way, some of you are asking me about stock options. If you want to actually take a look at the recording of the stock options masterclass I did, where I talk about buying and selling options and what I do with my options portfolio, you can actually go to stockoptionsmasterclass.com. There's a URL right there on the screen. So feel free to take a look. All right. So the next question comes from Errol Carter. Errol says, recently I inherited a multifamily property in New York City that requires a complete rehab. Unfortunately, I do not have any connections to reliable contractors in the area and was wondering if you could connect me to a reputable one. You know what, Errol? I don't know a lot about specific New York contractors. I can say that I know, well, number one, I know in the Black Business School, we have the Black REI group, the real estate investment group run by Julian Gordon. They're actually buying property around the country as a group and doing a lot of other things in addition to learning how multifamily property works. So you're welcome to take a look there. But also, in terms of reputable contractors, what I would do is find somebody who understands real estate in that area, maybe talk to a real estate agent or someone like that. And you can find them. I mean, they're all over the place. There's tons of real estate agents. And then ask them, perhaps, like just sort of ask around, because I do think that finding a reputable contractor is really important, because an unreputable contractor, what I look for example, when I got some work done in our house, we got our whole basement redone, which was it was a pleasure to spend money redoing our basement. And the reason is because I wasn't actually spending money. The entire basement is free. Well, how's the basement free? Well, the basement's free because the amount of money I put into redoing the basement, which ends up being about 50 grand, we're getting all that back in the increase in the value of the house. So that wasn't, so I spent zero money redoing my basement. I just had to give up some capital to make it happen. But literally, when we sell this house, the value has gone up probably about $100,000 because it has a fully finished basement now, right? So a revamp. One of the things you never want to do is let anybody convince you that making an investment is the same as spending money. Spending money is not an investment. Spending money is flushing money down the toilet and giving it away to someone and making it disappear and never coming back. It's the ultimate magic trick, like putting a rabbit in the hat and the rabbit is just gone. There is no rabbit, right? Investing is like putting the rabbit in the hat, but you just don't see the rabbit, but the rabbit's still in the hat. You still got a rabbit. The rabbit ain't dead. The rabbit ain't gone. The rabbit's just in the hat. So when you invest, it's like putting your money in a bucket, right? You put your money in a bucket, well, then eventually your bucket gets heavy because it's filled with coins and dollar bills, right? But it's still your bucket. And you still got the money in the bucket. It's your bucket, right? But if you spend money, that's like putting money in the toilet. And you flush it down the toilet is going to take your money away. Your money is officially poop. It's gone, right? So just make sure you always know the difference. And the reason I mention this point is because, and my confession is I used to be a spendaholic. That's my big weakness, is that when I used to have money back before I really thought about investing, and investing wasn't part of our family culture, to be honest with you, I never once at any point in the whole, whatever, however many, 80 something or 157,000 hours it takes to grow from age 0 to age 18. I never once, I had one single conversation with my parents about mutual funds, real estate, portfolios, none of that. And the thing was, I would just get money, and I thought money was to be spent. I would just spend money. Some of you may have grown up in the same kind of environment. And one of the things that I didn't understand later was that I could actually fulfill my desire to spend, by actually investing instead, right? So it's like you like to eat. Well, why eat the Cheetos when the healthy chips might taste just as good, but they're not going to make you fat. So a lot of times becoming an investor isn't just a matter of trying to become somebody completely different. It's a matter of taking who you are and just being who you are in a way that's going to help you as opposed to hurt you. So now I'm still a spendaholic. I love to spend money. I don't like, money is important to me, but it's not important to me. I don't like money just sitting around. I like to do stuff with it. But instead of spending it on stupid stuff like Gucci or Louis or new shoes or a new car, I'll put it into investments, right? My plowback rate has been very high my entire life. And that's one of the best things I was able to do with myself. And by the way, it takes 157,680 hours for your child to go from age 0 to 18. Just a little stupid fun fact, because there's 8,760 hours in a year. If you multiply that by 18, that means that you were in your parents' house until the age of 18 for 157,680 hours. Now, why do I bring up that number? Well, I bring up that number because of this. Your child is in your home from the age of 0 to the age of 18 for 157,680 hours. Why don't you take a few minutes to teach them how to invest? Like, why wouldn't you take a few minutes to teach them the basics of economics so that they don't have to go through the struggle for the rest of their life? How many of you were in your parents' house for 157,680 hours and never once did anybody ever teach you how to make money? Never once did anybody send you to like a wealth camp or maybe a business camp where you can learn how to start a business. Instead, they sent you off to work for white people. Nobody ever sent you to a place where you can learn how to invest in the stock market, which actually, by the way, you can learn how to invest in the stock market in about 10 or 15 minutes, at least on a fundamental level. Nobody ever sat you down and talked to you about real estate, stuff like that. I think that's a mistake. I think that's a crime. I think that's a disservice we do to our children. So I want to encourage you not to make the same mistake that somebody may have made with you. That's my 2 cents on that point. If you want to take a look at our Black Business School for Children, there's the URL, blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. You about to leave? Okay. All right, I'll be back. Okay. All right. So next question. The next question comes in from Charles Ray. Charles Ray says, Dr. Boyce, I'm trying to create a trading plan and was wondering, could you send me a copy of a complete portfolio and stock comparison spreadsheet? Or can you tell me where I can find one in the course? A complete portfolio and stock comparison spreadsheet. Charles, I don't quite know what you mean by that. I do know in the blackstockmarketprogram.com, there is something called what Dr. Boyce is buying. And that's where I literally just show you guys, I tell you guys what I'm buying, not because I'm telling you to buy what I'm buying, but because some of you may be a little confused and not sure of what to buy, and you may just want to tag along and take a look at what I'm buying, and maybe it'll inspire you to buy what you want to buy. I do a lot of research, look at what the analysts are saying, go through. Of course, I got a PhD in this stuff, so I can see some things that maybe some other people can't. And so that's a part that comes with actually part of your curriculum. And there's the URL where you can log in, theblackstockmarketprogram.com. So you can log in there and go to what Dr. Boyce is buying. That's $1,000 program, but you get access to that absolutely free, lifetime membership. As long as you're member of the Black Stock Market Program, you have access to that as well. So that might help you in your journey. So I hope that helps. Let's see. Elaine says, I would like to invest my $600 stimulus check. What would you suggest? I think, Elaine, it comes down to what your style is. So some people like to be passive investors. Some people want to be active investors. So if you want to be a passive investor, I would look at things like, mutual funds, ETFs, index funds, something that lets you set it and forget it, or you can just invest the money, walk away, never look at it again. David Bach talks about these people as what they call automatic millionaires. There's hundreds of thousands of people out here, regular people. They don't wear Gucci. They don't show off. They're not flashy with their money. Maybe they drive a pickup truck or a Toyota Corolla. Maybe they work down. Maybe the wife is a registered nurse and the husband is works at UPS. And these people become millionaires because they do one basic thing. They invest their money consistently, and they don't stop. They just continue to do that. On a regular basis. And over time, as I show you guys in the $5 a day investing plan, I show you exactly how there are people that actually can become millionaires or close to it, in a very short amount of time. Or if you do something like that for your kids, get your kids enrolled in like a $5 a day kind of investing plan, your child will have hundreds of thousands of dollars in liquid wealth by the time they're in their 20s and definitely in their 30s. And why is that important? Well, that's very important because if you help your child have money, think about this. How many young black men age 25 do you know? Answer this question for me. How many young black men age 25 do you know that have $100,000 liquid that they can go pull out of the bank right now? How many young black men or young black women age 25 do you know have $100,000 liquid? Not $100,000 in net worth. That's hard enough. That will put them above the average American, by the way, for their age. It's not hard to beat white people when it comes to economics, just to be honest with you. If you're a smart black person, intelligent black people can exceed white supremacy any day of the week because I'm intelligent, and I'm telling you, this is proven by mathematics. My PhD's in this stuff. I know what I'm talking about. Most young people that I know that are 25 years old are just getting started. They are working jobs that don't pay them enough money. Many of them that went to college are buried under student loan debt that they'll probably never repay. Half of all black college graduates default on their student loans within the first decade of getting the loans, and that default becomes like a financial STD because you now have bad credit. Your assets are depleted. Maybe they start garnishing your check, and you basically are stuck in economic slavery because you have to go to that job every day now just to survive. Forget having dreams. You just sometimes the student loans can be a dream killer because as much as you want to have a dream, you can't have a dream because in America, the American dream costs money. Let's just keep it 100. The American dream costs money. So the reason I ask you, how many young people do you know at the age of 25 that have $100,000 liquid? I need you to go look at your children. I need you to look at that baby right now, and I need you to realize that God has given you a gift. And the gift that God has given you is the gift of time. I can tell you as a mathematician and as a financial scholar that time is the most powerful asset that you own right now in your life. Time in every mathematical equation. I know all the equations. I know all the equations that tell you what an asset should be worth. And I can tell you the number one variable where we calculate what they call the derivatives of these equations, where you can determine which variables in the equations actually have the greatest impact. The number one variable in the wealth equation, it's not money, it's not initial capital, it's not interest rates, it's not things like that, it's not risk. It's time. Time. So you give me enough time, I can turn anybody into a millionaire or at the very least a high thousandaire. You give me enough time, I can get you out of any economic struggle that you're in, any economic situation that you're in. And the reason that I can't sometimes, as a financial doctor, sometimes the reason I cannot help the patient is because the patient doesn't have enough time. But if you give me time, we can do anything. So here's the thing. Your children were born very wealthy. Black Jesus and God blessed your children. Your children were born with an incredibly valuable multi-million-dollar asset called time. And what I'm telling you, Black people, is don't waste time. Don't waste that opportunity. Are you hearing me? Give me a yes if you're hearing me. Please hear me. Don't waste that time. You know, things like the $5 a day investing plan. I'm going to give you the URL. You can go to theallblackagenda.com. You can have it right now. It's totally free. Just download it for free. The $5 a day investing plan can guarantee that when your child gets to be 25 or 30 years old, they will be in the top 5% in terms of net worth for people their age. Do you understand what that means? Imagine how wonderful your life would have been if you'd had somebody that thought about you enough, they loved you enough to make a long-term plan for you that wasn't that expensive, but just required a little bit of vision. Think about how much freedom you'd have. Think about how you could have quit that horrible job. You could have walked away from that terrible boss. You could have got out of that bad situation. You see, so what you're giving your children is not just giving them wealth. You're really giving them freedom. You're giving them happiness. You're giving them a chance to dream. They can dream. Some people's lives are such a nightmare, they can't even afford to have a dream. Dreams become dangerous for people that are constantly stuck in the struggle. Do not do that to your family. Please don't do that to your children. Just do something very basic to them. Get them started now. All right? Do you hear what I'm saying? If you hear what I'm saying, give me a yes so I know that all that yapping I just did wasn't a waste of time. I really mean that. I'm not just making this up. Okay. So, by the way, those of you who are asking where I'm getting my questions from, this is from our program called Ask Dr. Boyce. This is students in the Black Business School. If you want to learn more about it, literally what I do is every week I answer every single question that every single student submits, and I mention their name and all that stuff. And if you want to go take a look, you can go to askdrboyce.com. That's askdrboyce.com. And also, if you want to take a look at our financial workbooks and flashcards for children, you can actually go to financialworkbooks.com. That's financialworkbooks.com. So feel free to go take a look there. Okay. So next question is from, here we go. Let's see here. El Haj says, which custodial account do you recommend, UTMA or UGMA? Well, okay, so let's talk about custodial accounts. What are custodial accounts? They are given it's basically where you're investing for your child, and it's all in your child's name, and your child is the owner of those assets. I'm just going to tell you this is a biased thing. This is not just Dr. Boyce talking. This is more so Uncle Boyce talking. I'm not a fan of custodial accounts completely because I'm not a big fan of giving young children control of money that you worked hard for. I believe that you should invest for them and, make sure you have a proper estate plan, make sure that there's assets available. But I'm a believer that the money is safest when you control it, because here's the thing, money is power. And with power, great power, Spider-Man's uncle said this in the movie. He said, with great power comes great responsibility. Some of your kids are not responsible. Let's just keep it honest and 100. Some of our kids are stupid. And some of us were stupid when we were kids. I don't know about y'all. Give me a yes or no if you were stupid when you were 17. I'm going to raise both hands because even as smart as I am now, I was very dumb at 17. It would have been really stupid to give me control of $100,000 at 17 because I had a girlfriend and she could talk me out of anything, and I probably would have spent all my money on my girlfriend. So I'm not telling you what to do with custodial accounts. I'll only tell you what I'm doing. I do not have a custodial account for any of my children where they control the assets. All the accounts, but I do have trusts in place. I have plenty of estate planning in place. If somebody, decides to knock me off and kill me, all my children are going to be rich because I made sure of that. But I put conditions on having access to the money. Well, why is that true? Well, I do that because you may not know this, but 70% of all wealthy families lose all their wealth in one generation. Did y'all know that? That 70% of all wealthy families lose all their wealth in one generation. 90% of all wealthy families lose all their wealth in 2 generations. So your greatest challenge initially is, how do I figure out where the money is? How do rich people make money? So then you learn where the money is. And then your next challenge is, well, how do I accumulate some of that money? So then you accumulate some money. And then your last challenge is, how do you protect the money you've accumulated? Right? So custodial accounts, I know people get excited about the idea of putting stuff in your kid's name like that, but I'm not a fan of that. I don't think you should put the utility bill in your child's name. and you shouldn't put the stash account in your child's name. I'm not telling you what to do. This is not investment advice, but I would never put, the electricity bill in the baby's name, and I ain't putting the stash account in the baby's name because the baby ain't ready to pay a utility bill, and the baby ain't ready to control a stash account that's full of money that I earned, right? When the baby shows that they're ready, when the baby shows they're responsible, when the baby shows me that they're doing something good with their life, then we could talk about the assets that I've stored for you. In fact, I think I like the idea of even keeping it a secret, just not even letting them know that the money's there. But then as like a guardian angel, like the patriarch or matriarch you are of your family, you can be there and say, hey, I see that you're saving up. You saved up $500 for that car. Guess what? Daddy got you. I'll put the other 500 in because I'm very proud of you that you saved up the first 500. Now you got $1,000 down payment. Go get you that car. Do you follow me? Do you get what I'm saying? Not telling you what to do, but that's what it is. Now, they were asking about UGMA accounts versus UTMA. Now, let me mention this. So these accounts are typically used for saving for college. A UGMA account is limited to mainly financial products like cash, stocks, mutual funds, etc. A UTMA can hold any type of property, including real estate, things like that. I think that's fine. I think that both options can work. The thing is that they also tend to be used to save for college, and again, because we're black here, I tend to change the rules of some of the stuff that you might read in the textbook, and I do that because I'm qualified with a PhD. You're qualified to read what's in a book and say, okay, here's how I would do that a little bit better, because we're not the people who read the books, we're the people who write the books. And what I would say is that when you talk about these accounts versus a 529 college savings plans, one of the big things you got to consider is that with these the UTMA, which UTMA stands for Uniform Transfer to Minors Act, UGMA stands for Universal Gifts to Minors Act, they allow you to transfer financial assets to a minor without establishing a trust. Now, the problem is that this can impact your financial aid situation with the child, relative to, say, like a 529 college savings plan. But the issue I have with some of the college savings plans is that there's not enough conversation about the fact that college is too expensive. Universities, believe me, I've taught a lot of different universities: Syracuse, Indiana University, the Ohio State University, etc. Go Buckeyes, by the way. We're about to win a championship, I hope. And the thing about it is that college should never have been as expensive as it is right now. College costs way too much, and so I'm not a big fan of building a massive amount of wealth so you can just give it all away to a university. I'm more of a fan of like state schools. Like, we have a 17-year-old that's about to go to college. We're not trying to go break the bank to send him to college when we know that how hard he works is going to be as much of a determinant of his success as where he goes to school. Doesn't mean that paying a little bit more can't be beneficial, but we look at the state schools first. We look at the lower cost institutions first, and then if we have to go higher, we do. But we're not looking to just spend a bunch of money just because somebody said that college is supposed to be $70,000 a year. So I don't have a preference between UTMA and UGMA. I think that they can both be solid. I think at the very least, what you're looking for is a way to consistently build wealth for your child. That's what these plans kind of do. They kind of just formalize the process. And also, there are some tax benefits. Now, I'm not a tax expert, so I can't really tell you exactly what that is. But I do know that UTMA and UGMA plans do not have the tax benefits that you get from a 529 plan. So UTMA and UGMA plans are made with after-tax dollars. But the trade-off with a 529, though, is that money tends to have to be earmarked for colleges. And I don't like these plans very much because I think it allows the universities to kind of get over on the American people. A big chunk of the country is drowning in student loan debt because universities have been allowed and encouraged to overcharge for the cost of education. And so I'm a big advocate of finding ways to kind of wiggle around that system. So, for example, Black people, I'm telling you this specifically because of your specific situation, because that's what we focus on in the Black Business School, is Black wealth. You need to have children that can start businesses, because your children end up being miserable because they have to go beg white people for jobs. Dr. Claude Anderson in Powernomics talks about this. And I know this is radical for me to say this. There are some people who love working for white people, I guess. I don't know who those people are exactly. But a lot of the stress that you feel from microaggressions on racism and things like that really comes from the pressure that you feel from having to get up and go to work with a racist every day. You know, you see Donald Trump in the White House, you may hate him, but most of us have worked for a Donald Trump. Give me a yes or no if you've ever worked for a Donald Trump at some point in your life. So basically, this kind of, systematic oppression is everywhere. But the reason that it feels like it's everywhere is because it's not that it's everywhere, it's that it's everywhere that you're taught to live. So it's like, for example, if there is a really bad smell in the room and I say, oh my God, this smell is everywhere. Everywhere I go, I walk to the north side of the room, I smell it. I go to the south side of the room, I smell it, right? Racism is like that really nasty smell. So every part of the room you go to, you're smelling this terrible smell. Well, somebody might come in and say, why don't you go outside? Why don't you leave the room? And so to me, systematic racism is like that room. This economic system is that room. You feel like you have to be inside that room. And you feel like you have to find a corner of that room where it's not going to stink. And I'm the guy who's saying, no, that you can live outside that room. It's like if I go to China and I decide that I can't live anywhere other than China, then I'm going to constantly go through life talking about yellow supremacy. Like, gosh, the Chinese people always give the best jobs to other Chinese people. And Chinese people, they always dominate everything that I do. And it's not fair because I'm an American and all these Chinese people are mistreating me. Well, they're mistreating you because if you're in China and you're not Chinese, then you're not going to get treated the same as someone who is from China. You got to leave the country. You got to leave the system. And so for Black people, when you go into all these environments that are run by white men, and then you say, gosh, white men always treat me badly. Well, I think that somebody should tell you that you don't actually have to be there. You can go to your community and you can work with other Black people. Now, the problem that you have is that because so many Black people have been trained to go into white supremacist systems to make their money, that's why you're taught to go to college, you're taught to go to a big white university, go deep in debt, and then you're taught to go work for another white person. That's kind of the standard false model of success that's being marketed widely to the Black community. You can't, because so many people have done that, you have no infrastructure in your community. You don't have enough businesses. So these Black college graduates who come out of college with these great degrees and all this, all this skill, they can't practice their skill in their own community because there's no infrastructure there. There are no businesses in a lot of these hoods. So what we've got to do is plant the seeds and plow back into our own communities and build those businesses in the hood so that when those Black kids come out of college, they can go back to Black communities and actually practice the skill that they have. Black people lead the world, in my opinion. We lead the world when it comes to what's called human capital. We are incredibly skilled. We have, raise your hand, give me a yes or no if you have a degree in something, some sort of professional license. Maybe you're a teacher, maybe you're a plumber, maybe you are you went to school for business management. How many of y'all in here got bachelor's degrees, associate's degrees, master's degrees, PhDs, MDs, JDs, all kinds of professional skill, 20 years that you spent working down at UPS, right? We have so much human capital, so much skill, it's ridiculous. And what is happening is that we are trained to believe that all of that human capital, all that wealth, by the way, that's Black wealth, by the way. Wealth doesn't usually show up in the form of money. That's why most people don't see it. Wealth is usually not in the form of money. It's in the form of capital. So all that human capital you have, you transfer all that capital out to white-owned businesses, and then you're confused by why white people have so much more wealth than you and why Black wealth is going backward. So you've got to change the whole model. So just going back with these 529 savings plans and college prep and all that, what we're doing with our 17-year-old is I'm telling him, look, go to college. College is fun, and we're in a special position, or we have a unique opportunity in that he's blessed to have two parents that are college professors. He kind of hates it, right? He thinks that that's normal, but he doesn't understand only 1% of the population has a PhD, and he has two parents in the house with PhDs. But the kids just kind of think that's a regular. But one benefit is that because Alicia is a college professor, he can go to a lot of universities for free. So I'm like, okay, well, yeah, college is fun. Go to college. We can probably send you there for free or cheap. Have a good time. But whatever you do, Black man, make sure you know how to start a business. If you really want economic freedom, Black man, you better learn how to start a company. If you really don't want to be fired on your day off, Black man, because you're 6 foot tall and very intelligent, Black man, you better learn how to start your own business because at some point, somebody's going to see you as a threat, Black man. So don't think, black man, that you can go into this economic system that's built on racism, black man, and be treated as if you are a 5'2" white woman named Becky Alexander. They're not going to see you the same as they see everyone else. I know this is controversial for me to say this. Some people think this is radical, to tell the truth, but the evidence is all around you. The evidence of the racism is all around you. And if you ever want to hear about 8 hours of consistent complaining, go sit with a group of black professionals as they talk about how badly they're treated on their jobs. And these are not just failures. These are hardworking people who have all the degrees, all the credentials, who put in all the work, who still don't understand why is it that I went $200,000 in debt to go to Duke University. I spent an extra 2 years getting a master's degree. I have 10 years of experience. I have been very consistent. I've never gotten in trouble on my job, but I still don't get what I deserve. Well, that's because the system was not built for you. It was not built for your prosperity. It was built to give you just enough to survive so that other people can become prosperous. In fact, a little joke that I like to share that I think really kind of it personifies this is there's a guy who Tyrone comes to work one day, and Tyrone sees his boss. His boss he pulls up and his boss pulls up in a brand new Porsche, and Tyrone's like, "Oh, boss, I love that car, boss. That's a beautiful car." And the boss is like, "Oh, thank you, Tyrone." And he's like, "Yeah, boss. One day I'd like to see if I can come up and get me some nice stuff like that." And he says, "Well, Tyrone, let me just tell you something, buddy. If you work hard and you keep being consistent and you keep doing a great job, then in 5 years, I'll be able to buy an even better car than the one I have right now." Do you get it? I don't know if y'all get the joke. I hope you get the joke. But the point of the matter is that Tyrone needs to go start his own business so Tyrone can be the boss too. Black people who start businesses are happier by being independent, even if they make less money. Why is that? How can you make less money and be happier than you were when you were making more money? Well, it's because there's a basic concept that says money is not everything. Money is not the be all end all. Money is not the destination. Money is the tool. Money is the vehicle to get you to the destination. The destination is happiness. So the reason that you can be happy running your own situation, the happier, even if you're making less money, is because freedom has value. Freedom isn't free. Freedom is a form of wealth. So if you are into freedom, which is probably why you're listening to me, I'm not a regular guy. I talk above a lot of people's heads. I make a lot of people mad. I say things a lot of people don't understand. I forgive them for they know not what they do. Some people are committed to all of this nonsense that we see out here. So you're different already by the fact that you're even here listening to me. A lot of people get annoyed by people like me because what I'm saying is so completely different from what they're hearing everywhere else. But I'm very confident in it because I've seen it actually work, right? So to really win the economic game, you cannot do what they're telling you to do. You cannot follow what everyone else is doing because everyone else is headed down an economic death trap. You must detach and form your own rules as you go through the process. Okay. I hope that makes sense. By the way, the Black Wealth Bootcamp starts in a few days. So if you want to join us in the Black Wealth Bootcamp, there's the URL right there. So feel free to do that. Also, one more thing that I wanted to mention to you guys is I actually am on the Clubhouse app and Parlor app. And sometimes I get together with Black Business School students and we have, rap sessions, things like that. So if you want to follow me, you can look me up on either Clubhouse or Parlor at Dr. Boyce Watkins. So feel free to look me up there. Okay, so the next question came from El Haj. El Haj says, do I need to create an LLC for investment group to purchase stocks or also for real estate as well? You do not need an LLC to purchase stocks. You do not need an LLC to purchase real estate. LLC stands for limited liability company. And the reason people form LLCs a lot of times is because they want to protect their assets from any liability. So LLCs are not required to do anything, but LLCs can be completely beneficial because they are economic entities that can give you tax breaks, benefits, things like that. I'm a believer that every Black family should start a family business. And the reason is because you get opportunities to take advantage of the fact that America is a really crazy biased system. America is so biased, it's ridiculous. And what happens is America is very biased in favor of people who own assets and people who make investments. So if you, for example, people who own assets don't really pay the taxes in this country. The taxes in this country are paid by the people who go to work every day and don't have tax write-offs. Wealthy people don't really pay taxes. That's why you'll always see these weird, crazy reports where they'll They'll say, "Oh my God, can you believe that that this billionaire only paid $80 in taxes?" Well, that's because that billionaire has accountants who can make sure that that billionaire gets to write off his whole entire lifestyle. He's got a yacht and a private jet and a house in the Hamptons, and he gets to write a lot of that off because he's maybe doing legit business in those locations, right? It's not like he's breaking the law. It's not tax evasion, it's tax avoidance. Tax evasion is when you break the law. Tax avoidance is when you just minimize your tax bill. So you don't want to evade your taxes, but you want to avoid your taxes. So basically, every Black family should have a family business if Black people want to close the wealth gap. And I don't think Black people are going to close the wealth gap, to be honest with you, because not enough Black people listen to us. If more Black people listen to us, like if we had, we have about 130,000 students in the Black Business School. If we had, say, 13 million students, or maybe 10 million or 5 million, then I believe the wealth gap will be closed, because we know how to close the wealth gap. I'm a financial scientist. The wealth gap is very easy to close if you do the right things. It's like closing the health gap. It's like if you have an obesity problem, a health expert can easily tell you how to not be obese. Like, they can tell you, like, okay, stop eating this, start eating that. Let's everybody walk 3 miles a day, and then obesity will pretty much all but disappear. Well, why doesn't obesity disappear? Obesity is very basic. It's very easy to end obesity. The reason obesity doesn't disappear, despite the fact that there are health experts that can break it down for you in a second, is because they abuse this thing called freedom of choice, right? You can't make people walk, or run 3 miles a day. You can't make them eat healthy food. They get freedom. They say, well, if I want to eat Popeye's chicken and Wendy's and Taco Bell every day, I'm going to do that. If I want to sit on my couch and eat Cheetos all day, I'm going to do that. And then when the consequences come pouring in, whether it's heart disease, diabetes, strokes, things like that, then there's another conversation, right? We say, oh, that person's a victim. But, the question is, if you're a victim, and I don't doubt that you're a victim, the question is, who was the perpetrator, right? Who did it? Did society do it? Did mama do it? Did your husband and wife do it? Or did you do it? Who put those Cheetos in your mouth? Who put, at grandma's house, who put those chitlins in your stomach? Who made the decision to stay in the bed as opposed to getting up and walking half a mile every day or 2 miles every day, right? So the same thing is true with economics. If I had the ability to be king of the earth, and I would use this power very conscientiously, I wouldn't abuse this power. If I had the ability to be king of the earth for just a few years, where I could command Black people to do certain things with their income, like I could force everyone to invest for their children. I could force everyone to start an LLC. I could force everyone to invest consistently in the stock market. Then I could close the wealth gap actually in about 10 years. The wealth gap, the racial wealth gap, maybe not 10, or maybe maybe it would take 20 years. But I could actually put Black people not just in a position where we catch up with white people, because white people are not the gold standard. Stop thinking that equality with white people is your measure of success. I mean, stop that. Quit that. You're the original man. You're the original woman. You're exceptional. There's nobody else on the planet that's built the way we're built. And I'm talking specifically about descendants of slaves. There's nobody else on the planet who can say, my ancestors survived the slave dungeons. I went to the slave dungeons in Ghana, and I was very sad. It's a very sad, horrible, toxic place. The energy is so bad there. But then I got energized when I thought about the fact that my ancestors, somebody with my DNA, survived the slave dungeons where most of the slaves died. My ancestors survived the Middle Passage, where half the slaves died. My ancestors survived 250 years of the worst, most brutal slavery known to mankind. So you're not like everybody else. You have natural superpowers. You're the closest living thing on this planet to being a superhero that there is. That's why they work so hard to oppress you, or to get you to turn your gun on yourself. So stop trying to be equal. Stop aiming for equality. Aim for excellence. You don't play a game to try to tie the game. You play the game to win. So what I'm saying to you, and this is my basic point, and I'm almost done here, is, I think that for Black people, I will say this, if I was able to tell Black people what to do economically for about 10 years, maybe 15, 20 years, Black people wouldn't be equal to white people. We'd actually be ahead. We will become, in America, what the Jewish community is right now. The Jewish community is less than maybe 2% of the population, but they control about 70% of this country, right? They have an outsized amount of power because they collectively, as a community, come together and form economic strategies with their children at a very basic level that leans on core values that create power, excellence, and success all throughout their community. And let me tell you a little secret. When I taught at Syracuse University, I taught many people from their community. I know more than they do. So so the point of the matter, what I'm just saying to you is all you gotta do is pay attention. You guys, I invite you to join the Black Business School and do stuff in the Black Business School and sign up for programs. And I'll just tell you the truth. Like we do more. When people invest in us, we invest more deeply in them. So they get more access when they make a bigger investment. But a lot of you have been learning lots of things from me and have not paid a nickel. All I've asked you to do is pay attention. All I've asked you to do is pay attention, right? So I don't really, I'm not offended if you never invest in anything that we do. I just ask you to listen if I make an offer and if I say, hey, this program's over here. I hope you'll take a look. There's a money back guarantee. I hope you'll give us the same respect you give, when white people offer you college degrees that don't actually amount to much of anything, but really in general, I'm just telling you the solutions are out there. That's my point. My point is that the solutions are out there. And I believe that the Black agenda is something that must be implemented in Black households by Black people. I do not believe that the Black agenda should ever come from white people. It's not me being racist. It's just me being factual. I don't believe Joe Biden should give you your Black agenda. Donald Trump should not give you your Black agenda. The Democratic or Republican Party should not give you your Black agenda. The Black agenda must come from you, and it must be implemented by you. Okay? Give me a yes if you get what I'm saying. Okay. So, by the way, some of you are asking me about crypto. Actually, if you go to drboycecrypto.com, I can actually did a short video where I told you guys about basically the cryptos that I bought, that I've invested in, and why. So feel free to go to drboycecrypto.com. And also on drboycecrypto.com, you can actually get a free copy of the $5 a day investment plan. So feel free to go to drboycecrypto.com. And also you'll get a lot of free stuff from us from the Black Business School. We love to email out all kinds of stuff. So the last question is from El Haj. El Haj asks, do you need to create an LLC for a family investment group of 3? No, you do not, El Haj, but just know the benefit of the LLC is limited liability. And I think at the very least, if you do something together with your family, you may want to follow the rules of how to form an investment club. Actually, if you go into your curriculum in the blackstockmarketprogram.com, you will see a video I did where I break down how to start an investment club with your family. And I think that's important, right? Your family, in my opinion, should get together once a week and talk about money or talk about something constructive for the family. Our family gets together every Sunday, and we get on Zoom. And it's the most wonderful experience in the world because we connect, we talk to each other, we find out how the baby's doing and stuff like that. We talk about our plans. You have to be conscious of this. This goes to a concept that I talk about called economic consciousness. Everybody wants to talk about what it means to be conscious or what it means to be woke. But nobody really knows what consciousness and wokeness really means. Economic consciousness means being very conscious, being very intentional, very deliberate about sort of doing things consistently that are going to help you form the right habits that will make you successful. Maybe after a while, you get to the point where your habits are good, so you can run on autopilot and good things can happen. You don't really have that luxury because, unfortunately, many of you, like myself, were maybe born in families that didn't talk about economics very much. So you have to consciously change that habit. If you don't consciously adjust that habit, then that habit will never arise. You cannot live your economic life on autopilot as a Black person in America and think that's going to lead you to wealth. Do you hear what I'm saying? You cannot live on autopilot as a Black person in this country and think that that's going to lead you to any form of wealth or power. You can't, because all your habits, all your cultural your norms, for many of you, many of your habits and norms that were developed in you from birth are ones that are built on economic self-destruction. So in order for you to rise above that, I encourage you to be very conscious, very intentional. One of the things that you can do is you can leverage the power of the group, the power of the collective. When you come together as a family, you are building wealth right there just by coming together. Because when you're together, here's what happens. When I get together with my family, I got one cousin, a young Black male who's maybe about 34 years old, who's a multi-millionaire. And when I say multi-millionaire, literally, he bought Bitcoin when Bitcoin was like $10. And he casually mentions to me that he has 38 Bitcoins. And I said, 38 Bitcoins is worth $1.2 million. And you know what he said? I kid you not. He said, oh, it is? Oh, wow. That's cool. That's it. There wasn't like, oh, Lord Jesus, I don't won the lottery, y'all. What's up? Oh, shoot. No, he's like, wow, that's pretty cool. Right? So what I'm saying is, and now check it out. Pay attention now. This Black man never went to college. He did not get the fancy degrees, which comes with the student loans. He didn't, he's never had some fancy job with big corporation with where he's got the nice office or the house in the suburbs with the where he's driving the Bentley and all that. But now he's got a mansion. Now he's living really nicely. He was a black man with no college degree who simply learned how to start a business. He learned how to invest. He learned how to think economically. And so when I talk to him, we go back and forth and we exchange ideas and we exchange resources. So you have one person that's doing one thing, and then you're talking to a family member who also can be a colleague where you're sharing ideas. And so what you'll find is like, one person may say, yeah, we started our donut business and we can't find a way to get customers. And then somebody in the family says, oh, girl, you didn't know. Oh, at my job, they love donuts at my job. At lunchtime, bring your donuts by at 12 o'clock, and I'll tell everybody that you got donuts outside and you'll sell out, right? Boom. The magic has happened. Now you've got revenue coming in. To make money, to really make your financial dreams come true, I broke this down to a 17-year-old. I said, to be really free economically in your life, to get past all the complexities of picking a career, getting the right job, doing 1,000 job interviews, and going deep in debt and figuring out how to get ahead financially. I said, all you got to do is figure out a business model that will help you make $5,000 to $10,000 a month. Figure out something you can sell and find a customer that will buy it. And if you multiply it enough times, you're making $5,000 to $10,000 a month. Now that may seem hard to do. That seems really hard to do when you haven't done it. But when you consider the fact that trillions of dollars every single day are being transferred all throughout this economy, when you consider the fact that I see hundreds of students in the Black Business School and other places that figure out their little model, like maybe the Black woman who sells hair care products, who wasn't making any money at first, but she goes and she takes a class and now she's making $100,000 a month. I've seen these things happen, right? And so what I want you to just kind of get in the habit of doing and teaching your kids to do is to look for the gold that's buried in your backyard. That's the final point I'll make to you today before I get out of here. Is there is gold in their hills. There is gold buried in your backyard. And the reason you don't see the gold that's buried in your backyard, meaning, opportunities that can exist just because you talk to your cousin, but you never talk because your cousin's always at work. You're always at work, right? You miss those opportunities because in the morning you go across town to go work for the white man that you're employed by, and your cousin goes across town to work for the white man he's employed by, and y'all never talk. So y'all see each other once, twice a year, Christmas and Thanksgiving. You say, so what you been up to, man? Oh, nothing, just working. Right? That's it. Most of us have those conversations. Give me a yes or no if you know what I'm talking about. So I'm saying, consciously shifting how this narrative plays out is one of the keys to really possessing your economic power, right? Seeing the wealth that is around you is probably the most effective thing I can share with you in terms of knowing where to look for economic security and all these other things that you want out of life. Okay. So that's it. By the way, this was Ask Dr. Boyce. I talked a little bit longer than I thought I would, but I tend to do that. When I get into something, I just want to talk for a little bit. If you want to submit questions to me and have them answered by me with using your name, you can actually sign up for the program if you want. You can go to askdrboyce.com. And what I do is I send out an email and I tell the students, send in your questions. I'll answer them all once a week, and I'll do a long video and answer them all. So if you have a specific question you want me to answer, you can go to askdrboyce.com. But also Ask Dr. Boyce, it actually comes for free if you're in the Black Stock Market Program. So what you may want to do is do a trial in the blackstockmarketprogram.com, and then Ask Dr. Boyce comes for free as an add-on to that program. And the first month is free. You can give it a try, 30-day free trial, all that good stuff. Okay, guys? So and then one thing I can give you that doesn't cost anything at all is this video I did here at blackfinancialsecurity.com. There's a lecture you can go check out at your convenience with your family that breaks down the 7 rules of financial security, 7 things to look for to know if you're financially safe or not, so you can avoid blind spots and pitfalls. Just hang out with me. I love to talk. As you guys can tell, I run my mouth too much. Alicia gets mad at me for it. But I think that between all of us, we can solve our own problems. We don't need anybody else. Okay. So thank you for listening. It was fun talking to you, and I will see you soon. Take care.